Hi, I'm Peter Jones, Chartered Surveyor, author and property investor. Because of the peculiarities of the UK property market and the way we value property, there's one very simple way in which we can add a lot of value to a property without having to extend the floor area of the property itself. Now it's interesting because on the continent and in other places the value of the property is calculated on floor area, but in the UK we tend to think about the value in terms of the number of bedrooms. So here's a very simple thing which can work with some properties, and I was reminded of this staying in this property, which is a short-term holiday let, we could call it a serviced accommodation unit, where somebody has put the kitchen into the living area. Let me show you what I mean. So here's the kitchen area, this is where I was just standing, and you can see over here is the living area and it's all open plan. The Americans do this a lot. If you go to America, many of the properties that you'll probably stay in have this open plan area, living room and kitchen joined. Why does that make a difference? Because it means that if you can move the kitchen into the living area, assuming the living area is big enough, then you can use the room which was the kitchen as another bedroom. And in the case of this particular property, through this door here is where the kitchen used to be, and it's now a bedroom. Let's go and have a look. So I'm now stood in the bedroom which used to be the kitchen, and there's an ensuite bathroom, which I'll show you in a moment, and it works really well. Now of course the great advantage to the owner of the property is that they've added an extra bedroom. In this particular instance, because it's serviced accommodation short-term let, they can now let this as a 3-bedroom property instead of a 2-bedroom property. But it doesn't just work for serviced accommodation property. If you were able to find a flat, for example, in a city centre location, which is perhaps a 1-bedroom flat at the moment, but if you were able to take the kitchen and put it into the living room, assuming the living room is big enough, and then turn what was the kitchen into another bedroom, you've made a 2-bedroom flat out of a 1-bedroom flat, and you've significantly increased the value of the property without increasing the size of the property. As I say, a peculiarity of the UK market. This may not work in other places where value is calculated on floor area, but in the UK we can do this kind of thing. Now the reason why it worked so well in this particular property is because of where the kitchen was relative to the living room, which means that all the services, you didn't have to move the services or the drains. They were down at this end of the property. They're still down at this end of the property, but they've basically just gone through the wall. So the services would have been in this room, which would have been the kitchen. They're now just on the other side of the wall in what is now the new kitchen. So there hasn't been sort of great upheaval. So if you can find a property which fits, there's a way there to add a lot of value. So it's worth thinking about. If you're thinking about what strategy should I do in property, there are people out there who specialise in doing nothing but this, taking, say, a 1-bedroom flat and turning it into a 2-bedroom flat, or taking a property like this and turning it from a 2-bedroomed house into a 3-bedroomed house. Here's the ensuite. You'll see we've got basin, we've got WC, and over here we have a very smart shower cubicle with slate tiles and a slate floor. It's almost like a wet room. It works really well. Well, I hope you found that informative and inspirational. And if you want help in property, please do come over to my website www.thepropertyteacher.co.uk. Loads of great resources there, including my blog. There's loads of free videos, loads of great articles. There's free reports to download, including Learning with Peter, where you'll be able to access resources like my video courses, like my ebooks, including my home study course, the Successful Property Investors Strategy Workshop, which I've literally sold thousands of copies of, which takes you through how I started in property, literally with none of my own money, but how I was able to build a portfolio of £2 million worth of property in just 4 years. I'll show you everything that I did right so that you can do the same, and I'll show you everything that I did wrong. I'll tell you about all of my mistakes so that you can avoid them, so that you can progress in property far more quickly than me. Until next time, here's to successful property investing.